For tonight's workshop, I wanted to introduce you to a book by a friend of mine, somebody that I've known for about, geez, I want to say 15, 16 years in the art business, and that is Karen Elaine. And this is the book that she published last year, late last year, called Wild Watercolor. And she's saying easy to advanced. And so I wanted to share this book with you because, well, I love her work as well as what a great book. Great book. And as it says, easy to advanced. So it doesn't matter to what level you are in watercoloring. You can pick up in this book wherever it is that you want to um, do a project, whether you want to do the more advanced projects or you want to start with the very simple projects. What I love about the way that she has put the book together is she has created 36 weeks, she calls it. So, in other words, each week, so only once a week, you sit down for a little bit and you paint something. Of course, I sat down and painted three or four things at one time. Hey there, what's my time zone? Ah, good question. Thank you, Annette. My time zone, I'm on the East Coast, and so for me it's 5:30 p.m. and that's normally when I start my workshops is at 5:30 p.m. All right, on Sundays. And then this is what the book looks like here. So where you see the contents, and she's saying weeks 1 through 12, we're going to do these beginner friendly. Weeks 13 to 24, we're going to do some intermediate. And weeks 25 through 36, we're going to do some advanced watercolor techniques. So isn't that fun? I mean, the way she breaks it down is so fabulous. Let me show you one of the projects so you can see um, the step by step. What I love is she shows you the finished project and tells you what materials you're going to need, and then tells you what colors you're going to need for that particular project. And then she just walks you through it step by step by step. So here she says, and this is one of the simple ones. This is one of the beginner ones. Step one, step two, step three, but she gives you a picture for every single step. And I love the way that, I mean, I love her as an artist, have for many years. And I just love the way that she has broken these things down in this book. And I think it's definitely, if you're a watercolorist and you want to share watercolor with other people as well, Wild Watercolor. I think it's fantastic. This Fox, that's the last one in the book. Let me just, oh no, it's not the last one. Okay, I lied. It's the next to the last one in the book. No, it's the next to the next last one in the book. So she shows you the fox, she shows you the drawing to do, and then takes you step by step through it. After the fox, she has a beautiful bunny rabbit. So you have a hare there to do, and then, or jackrabbit, she calls it. And the last one, the very last one, is a prickly pear. Gosh, y'all, she does not only teach you about watercolor and how to work with watercolor, she also teaches you to work with something called masking fluid. And I appreciate that she does that because I think masking fluid and knowing how to use it is very important in your watercolor journey. And so she does an excellent job of that in here. Actually, my favorite project that she does using the masking fluid, I'm going to show you. It's in the advanced section, but it is this nest with the eggs. And so all this part of the nest around here, she shows you how to use masking fluid. Yes. Hi, Caroline. Caroline, welcome in. Welcome in. Yes, masking fluid. Exactly. Um, the folks at Pebio, whom I work with, you see my apron here that they gave me. Thank you, Pebio. Funny thing is, Karen Elaine in the book, she says her favorite masking fluid, Pebio drawing gum. So it's not just me who's saying that. A lot of other artists have discovered that the Pebio drawing gum is really good too. When it comes in a little bottle, do not worry. Any products that I talk about, including this book, on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, I will link in the description of the video to all of these items. So you'll be able to just go click and find it. Okay. after the video. So later tonight, I will go in after the show is over and I will add all those links for you. And that way you'll be able to easily find the book and all these other products that I talk about, like masking fluid. Okay. Now, let me show you Karen Elaine's social media. This is her on Instagram, and it's Karen Elaine Creative right there. And again, I will link to this. This is some of her work right here. I just love her techniques. This is one of the projects from her book right here. And so that is her Instagram. And then this is her on YouTube. So it says Create with Karen Elaine, and it's at Karen Elaine right here. You can see on YouTube. And then Karen Elaine has worked for years. Actually, when I met her 15, 16 years ago, she was working with Yasutomo, which is a manufacturer in Japan, Yasutomo. And she still does a lot of work for them. If you sign up for Yasutomo's newsletter, you will get a newsletter from Karen Elaine on usually on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and it tells you what the workshop on the live on YouTube is going to be for them on that Friday. So let me show you the Yasutomo YouTube channel. There it is right there. Yasutomo Art and Origami. They make the most beautiful papers, y'all. And Karen Elaine teaches you how to do origami if you want to do that as well. That's the art of paper folding, right? And as well as just the art is fabulous because it's the art of Karen Elaine, who wrote this book. When I found out last year she was coming out with a book, I'm like, ah, as soon as it came out, I got it. As soon as it came out, because I just love her and I love her work. So we support each other as artists, right? But fabulous book. I can highly recommend it. Now, for this project today, I am going to show you some of what some of the projects that she has in the book. For instance, this is the one that I fell in love with. It's very easy. It's in either the beginner or the intermediate section, and it's doing a dragonfly. But look at her interpretation with all these beautiful colors. I just love it. And so we're going to riff off of that. And then here is the very, like the second project in the book. And then I always love looking at how people do poppies because I just love the subject of poppies. And she shows you a very simple way to do these poppy flowers. So those are some of the projects that I picked and chose out of the book to do, and thought that it'd be fun to show you kind of a mashup of that for today. And the paint that we're going to use today, I'm going to introduce you to a new watercolor paint if you're not familiar with it. And that is the Van Gogh watercolors. So you see right here where it says Van Gogh. The company is Royal Talons that makes the Van Gogh. They are out of the Netherlands, and they have these incredibly good quality and extremely well priced pocket sets. So it says here pocket box, right? And this happens to be my favorite pocket box. They make several. This one's my favorite because it says here 12 plus 3 pans. So you're actually getting 15 colors in here for around the same price as you would for the 12 colors. So that's one of my tricks. It's like, get this one, the one that's 12 plus 3. More colors, mo better, right? But again, that's the Royal Talons pocket box, and I will have a link to it in the description of the video. Inside the pocket box, let me show you what's in here. So this would be considered a travel set. Now there's no loop on the bottom for you to put your finger in to hold it for plein air, just so you know. It doesn't have the bottom loop like a lot of the travel sets do. This is what it looks like. And you've got your 15 colors in here. You also have it comes with a brush and then a place to mix your paint. But there's a little trick in here. This is I use it as a detail brush. So for these pictures that I did here from Karen Elaine's book, I use the brush that came out of there as the detail brush because you see the tip right there. Perfect for details. But if you'll notice the end, it looks broken. Let me see if I can kind of show you that. See how there's a little scoop there and it looks broken? It's actually not broken, it's designed that way. And it has a good purpose. The purpose is there's a little notch right here in the tray. And if you put that into the notch, you pop this mixing tray out and you have a whole other area here for mixing. Or you can fit a 4x6 postcard in there and use that for the area where you put your paper as you're painting if you prefer to do that. I usually use this as a mixing palette as well as this because like to me you can't ever have enough mixing space. Okay, but if you want to keep it really compact, you put your paper right there. Then that works really well. And then the other thing that the end of this brush is used for is right here. Each one of these little what are called half pans have a notch. So can you see the little notch at the top there? So what you do is if you want to replace that pan, you can put this brush in the notch. I'm going to do it down here. It's a little bit easier. And then the pans are removable. They say Royal Talons on the back, but you see how they are removable like that so that you can replace them. The other thing that you can do, like this color, which is a magenta and yellow are the ones, the lemon yellow are the ones that I personally use the most. And so this will, it'll go down to nothing in no time, right? From my painting. So the cool thing is that Royal Talons Van Gogh also have tubes of paint. So I think this is 11, is it 10 10 milliliters, I think. Yeah, 10 milliliters, it says right there on the side like that. And so you can buy a tube. And that way, when this little pan gets empty, I can just replace it with fresh watercolor from the tube. Isn't that awesome? And then also, if you decided that you didn't like one of these colors and wanted to replace it with another one, like this is one of their colors that I just love, which is turquoise green. So that's a very unusual color that you don't get from a lot of brands, turquoise green. And if I wanted that in here, I would decide which one I wanted to replace. And then I could put a new little empty half pan in there and just squeeze the paint right into it. And so I can customize this however I want to. But if you are looking to get a good quality, but inexpensive, so it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, paint that to me is professional grade. It has excellent light fastness. Every color in here has an excellent, like a 3-star light fastness. That's their top grade. And so this box, this pocket box from Van Gogh, excellent, excellent option. Love these. And they have some interesting, unique colors too. I'll show you real quick. I was playing with, these are some shimmer. They call this red, is it red? Pink dusk, I think. And they call this one green dusk. And it has a little bit of, and then this is their graphite. And so they have a little bit of shimmer to them, right? Very cool paints. But I was playing with those. They were a lot of fun. Here, the thing with this set also is it comes with a card, a swatch card. Now, their swatch card, this set actually had this little set of it had like a film that you picked up over top of them to keep them fresh. And so I just put them on the front side of the card and then I made that for the back side of the card. When I do my cards, I like to put a little line. So if I'm designing a swatch card, I put a little line there so that when I'm putting the colors down, I can see what colors, like this white is semi opaque. You see how you can still see the line through it? And I applied white there twice. So that is the Chinese white in there is a semi-opaque, not a fully opaque. But this one over here, the Payne's gray, you almost can't see the line in there. so that you get an idea. Here that is the yellow ochre, so you get an idea that this is also semi-opaque. So don't just make your little blocks, draw a little black line on there too. What I use to draw that black line is the Pigma micron pens, which I've shown you all a lot of times. I love these because you can put it down and in just a second it's dry, and then you can paint right over top of it and it doesn't move the black, right? What'll happen is if you use a Sharpie, the black Sharpie, over time, the black Sharpie turns blue, it reacts. And so I don't recommend using a Sharpie to put your little black lines in here. I recommend using a different kind of artist permanent pen like those microns, okay? Um, Let me see, what else are we gonna use today? This is that I do my sketches in. This, this is now officially my favorite notebook for sketching, doing watercolor sketches in. And it is by Fumui. I bought this myself. They didn't give it to me, but by Fumui. And it's 100% cotton paper. And so I would encourage you, if you're learning how to work with watercolor, um, let's say that you're past the beginner stage and you're moving into your intermediate stage, I suggest that you experiment with working on a 100% cotton paper. It's more expensive than your non 100% cotton paper, but something like this notebook, just using this notebook and doing my sketches in here, the water that was from last week, and then this one from this week, the water color it just behaves so well on the 100% cotton paper. It definitely makes a difference, y'all. Okay, I'm going to recommend that because it definitely makes a difference in the quality of the outcome of your painting. This paper performs the way that watercolor paper should perform. If you use an inexpensive watercolor paper, sometimes you think it's you, but it's not. That aren't getting the outcome that you want. Sometimes it's the paper. And I've heard other artists say the same thing. Y'all get the best paper you can get. Okay. And work on that, because then the watercolor paints and the water are going to do what they're supposed to do. And you'll be happier with the outcome. Okay. So again, this is the Famui 100% cotton watercolor paper notebook. And right now, um, I've only seen it in this size, which is the 8.5 by 5.5, they call it. And I think that the paper inside is like a 5 by 7. Perfect for if you do something and you like it, you can pop it into an 8 by 10 mat. Love that. Now, there's another book that I like to do sketching in as well. And that is the US Art Supply watercolor paper. Very inexpensive, not not 100% cotton, but for sketchy sketches, if you're just trying to get an idea for the composition that you're doing, if you want to test things out, like you can see here, I was testing out some of the colors of the Van Gogh here. Um, you can see that it's perfect for that kind of thing, okay? Where I'm not trying to make something, I'm just experimenting with my color. That's fine. Do that on this lesser expensive paper. This is the same size notebook, but you get 3 of these notebooks for the price of, um, you get 3 of them for just a little bit more than the price of this notebook. So that's why I wanted to show you both of them. They both have their place. All right. I'm going to set those aside. We're probably going to do our initial sketch in this one. And then for the final artwork, because I like to do a little sketch. You noticed last week I did a sketch in one, and then I do the final artwork on a larger sheet. So this is the 9 by 12. Again, it's Famui. I'm very happy with their paper right now. They're 100% cotton paper. So it says that here. And this is a watercolor block. So for beginners, you may get frustrated with a watercolor block because you can't go on and do multiple things at one time. You have to finish one artwork and then it's taped. It has glue all the way around it here. And then there's a little spot here at the top where it says open. And that is where there's no glue, and that's where you separate the pages. But I like a block for a beginner if you're doing a project, because then you don't have to tape down the paper onto another surface. You can work on the block, and the block holds the paper and prevents the paper from bowing too much. Because if you work on regular watercolor paper and you go to put a lot of water on it, what'll happen is the paper will bow unless you've taped it down. So if you're using a block like this, you don't have to worry about that. So that makes it a little more pleasant for somebody who's starting out in watercolor. If you know that but you have to have the patience to finish that project before you take it off and then do the next one, which sometimes I don't have that patience. I just have to go and flit around and do 10 projects at one time, right? Who else is like that? Raise your hand, right? Okay. The other thing that I'm going to be using here, of course, a pencil and an eraser to draw with. And then I like to use my collapsible, these are Faber-Castell, they call them click and go. So they're little collapsible water containers, but what I like about them is the scallop edge. So I literally have two of these on my painting table at all times. And when I travel, it's super easy. These collapse down and then they go with me wherever I go. So that's the Faber-Castell Click and Go. That's not the only thing I have. I have 3 water containers tonight, just in case. So this is another water container I have on my table. I have lots of water containers. That'll be very helpful when you're working with watercolors. And then I also have just a couple of brushes. This is one of the Famui brushes that I bought. I bought a set to test them out and I'm really enjoying them. I also use where are they? Where are they? I also use often, here they are, these Velvet Touch brushes from Princeton. Love these too. So both of these, sets I pretty much use interchangeably. And so that is it for the supplies tonight. Let's go ahead over top of the table. I want to welcome a few more people I see that popped in over on Whatnot. And there are a few people over on YouTube. So if you are on YouTube, please smash the like button for me over there. Oh, that always helps the to promote the video, right? If you smash that like button. We're going to go over top of the table and get started. I'm going to show you some more in that wild watercolor book, and then we're going to get started with the painting with these gorgeous Van Gogh paints. The projects that I did that I showed you a few minutes ago here, it was the poppy flower, some of the leaves, and the dragonfly. Oh, just so cute. So once again, now that we're over top of the table, this is in the advanced section. So you learn to do the poppy, the single poppy, here in the beginner section. Or no, that looks like the intermediate section. Let's see, it's beginner or intermediate. Like I said, the nice thing is she shows you here which ones. Boop, 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 boop. She has stacked rocks in here. I love doing stacked rocks in watercolor. They're so much fun. Um, okay, so the wild poppy is under beginner. Yay. And here's the project that I did to make the poppy. So you see how it looks almost exactly like hers, but it's a few simple colors and she walks you right through the whole thing. Um, and Oh, they're the stacked rocks. Love them. Love doing. I the painting that I did, the last painting I did of stacked rocks was very colorful. I didn't want it to look like a stack of rocks. I wanted it to be super colorful, and that already sold. That sold last year. Beautiful butterfly. Now we're getting more into the intermediate and advanced. And here, beautiful dianthus, gorgeous. Step by step. Look at this one, the monarch butterfly on the flower. Oh, okay, those were intermediate. Here are the advanced projects right here. So she's going to show you a hummingbird and a flower there. The one I showed you earlier with the nest and the eggs. And this is where the rocks painting. I know, right, Flower Gazer? I have I went to uh what's it called? I went over to AI and I said I wanted um colorful rock stacks, right? And so I printed out a whole bunch of those. I created a whole bunch of them with AI and different color combinations, different numbers of rocks, all of that. And then that's what I use. I use those images as my inspiration when I do the rock painting. It's the same technique that she's showing you here in the book. The difference is that um, as long as you get the basics of how to do the rock painting, which she absolutely shows you here, you can do it with any colors that you want. So you have it. Oh, do you have this book, Flower Gazer? Oh, you bought the rocks painting. You're the one. Well, there you go. Thank you, Flower Gazer. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I appreciate it. So this is this nest. Here's where she shows you putting all of that drawing gum from Pebeo or your masking fluid on there. So that is a just a fabulous look at this Sonoran sunset. Holy kashmoli. And this is one that I can't wait to try myself. Of course, you see the lotus, but this ocean, the way that she did the ocean, I really like that. And I want to do some exploration with her project there. This one is just the field of poppies. Wow. And then a cardinal, the fox. I showed you the hare earlier and the cactus, which is just beautiful. So there's so much in here to play with and learn. And even though I've been painting for 20 years, I love books like this that give me step by step, very simple, and they show you. I'm very visual as an artist, and she's showing you every step of the way. So if you're good at observation, you're going to be able to figure it out pretty fast. Oh, I can see this is on the camera. This is what I was working with the last couple of days, making my own paper. So I make my own collage papers. And the reason that I put wax paper in the background is because sometimes the paint comes through, doesn't it? So I find that wax paper works great as a background. Let me get rid of that. Hey, there we go. You can see I use the wax paper in my background, so or on my table to sort of, I mean, there's enough paint on there, but that's how I keep it to a low roar. Okay. Um, so what I want to do first is I just want to show you the poppy. And then because I like the layering on the poppy, and that layering technique is kind of what we're going to do here with a dragonfly. And what I've done is I've gone out to Pixabay, which is my favorite royalty free. It's not copyright free, it's royalty free. That means you can use them for yourself. And I printed out some of these cute pictures of dragonflies. Somewhere in amongst all of my pictures that I've taken, I also have dragonflies, but I wasn't able to put my fingers on them right away. So we've got dragonflies here and dragonflies here. This is a dragonfly on a leaf, but it to paint it, you're going to layer on top, right? You're going to need to do some of that. Um, Putting paint down, letting it dry, and then put more paint on top. So I want to start by showing you that process with this poppy, and then we're going to move to doing an original composition based on something similar to this picture here. I always print multiples because look at the colors on the back end of that one right there. That's like black and electric blue. And then, of course, this one right here is greens and electric blue. So I like to look at different images. This one, the wings are down in front instead of being off to the side. So I like to look at different angles in order to decide what it is that I'm going to do. So we're just going to start with a quickie little, well, first thing we're going to do is a leaf. So let me open this up. Actually, I think the notebook is upside down. Yeah. So I'm going to do it like this over here. And the first thing we're going to do is those simple leaves that she was showing us. So she actually likes to suggest that you do a pencil drawing to start. And the crazy thing is, in the beginning of my painting journey, I was not a good drawer. So it used to make me crazy if somebody said, draw something and then paint it. I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to. Okay. Um, I'm going to start with this. I think it's the number 6. Yeah, it's almost worn off because I use it so much. This is the Princeton Velvet Touch. And here you can see in the colors that are in this Van Gogh box that there is a sap green and there is a viridian, or that's also called phthalo green. Okay, kind of a phthalo green. And so we're just going to create some leaves using the sap green, this sap green right here. Um, but I am going to, you know what, instead of using a pencil, I want you to be able to see it. So I'm going to use a micron pen, which is permanent, right? And so we're just going to do a leaf shape here. And we want to have a thing down the middle like that. And then we'll do the other side. Oh, this one is almost done, right? I'm doing it like this so that you can easily see it on the camera there. So normally I would use a pencil, but right now, hey, can't hurt to use the micron pens because of course you're going to, uh, they're permanent. So, so I'm going to do another one here, a leaf that's really fat at the bottom like this. There we go. So we've got a couple of leaves going, right? Quick and easy. So this is from the simple section of her book. And of course, this is something that you can even show children how to do. You could even do these little drawings of leaves and then, let the kids go to town with some watercolor paint. Woohoo! I would give the kids something called tempera paint instead of giving them these professional style watercolor paints. And the reason for that is tempera paint washes out, and sometimes the professional grade paints do not completely wash out of your clothes, your carpet, whatever, because if it's what's called a staining color, like this green down here, the phthalo green, then you don't want to be giving kids those unless the children are a little more mature and very careful. So use tempera, TEMP, I believe it's PRA, and those are paints that are made to wash out. Okay. So I'm just going to get my brush damp. Let me start by doing this. I'm going to use the little brush. I'm going to take this out for right now, and we'll just work in the larger area here. So I'm going to pick up some of that green here. That's the sap green, but you don't want to be boring. You don't want to just paint it the color that comes right out of there. You could. Actually, let's do one with the color that comes right out of the pan and one with the color that we make. So I'm taking that permanent green and I'm just going to put it right on the leaf. The nice thing about using a pencil or a micron pen is you can just go right over top of it. It's not going to hurt it. Okay. So we're just going right over top of it like that. And then you want to take a darker color and put the darker color usually at the base, but the base or the tip. So what I love in this box is instead of giving you black, they give you a color called Payne's Gray. So it's a dark color, but it's not black. And I love that. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the Payne's Gray, which has a slight blue undertone. And while this is still wet, I'm just going to drop a little bit of that in here into this area and let it run. That's what I like about it, is that it runs. You know what? I'm going to add a little bit of green to it because it was a little intense there. And I'm just going to go around the top here. So I'm just trying to give my leaf a little bit of extra dimension. And anytime the paint is still wet, if it's too much, you're going to take your paper towel, lay it over top, and pick some of that up. Okay. So your paper towel is your friend, or a cloth if you prefer to use something that's a little more eco-friendly. So I'm just coming back in here, dropping a little bit more of that dark color in and adding just a little bit more water where it meets the lighter colors. There we go. Because I want things to bleed. I'm okay with them bleeding. Now that was using a color right out of the block here. For this green, let's mix a color. So in this set, we have Prussian blue and we have ultramarine blue and we have cobalt blue. The cobalt blue, if you look closely at it, you will see that it is partly opaque, where these other two are more transparent. And so I like to color mix with my more transparent colors. And if I want to get a nice green similar to what we were just using, I want to use this Prussian blue and one of these yellows over here. So this is a cool yellow. This is a warm yellow. This one looks, tends more toward orange a little bit. So it just depends on whether you want, what kind of color you want. But I'm actually going to grab a little bit of both yellows. So I'm going to take this lemon yellow and I'm going to put it in here in the palette. And then I'm going to take the Azo medium, which is also a yellow, but it's slightly warmer. So we get something sort of in between. And then I'm just going to take a touch of that Prussian blue because it's quite dark and mix it in with it. Oh, a little bit more Prussian blue. And now we have what I would consider a more complex green. So here we have a solid color of green. Here we have a more complex green because we've mixed it with multiple colors. Now I'm feeling like I want a little bit more yellow in with it. The crazy thing is, y'all, my yellows always get covered with either green or orange. They'll turn green or orange because I'm constantly mixing with them like crazy. Okay, I want to be sure I have plenty of color here, so I'm going to pick up some more of the yellow. And I want to pick up just a little bit more of the blue. So now what I have on here is a lighter color and a darker color on the same palette. So let's pick this up. Let's drop our lighter color in here. And then, so that's the lighter end of it. So here, what I'm doing is instead of just going in with the main color like I did over there, I'm actually building up in layers. Okay, so I have a lighter version right there. The one that I mixed with a little more blue, that's a little bit darker. I'm going to bring that around the edges here, dabbing that in. There we go. Just dabbing it around the edges so I can get a little darker perspective going on the edge there. So now we've got a little bit of variation in that leaf right there. And then I'm going to pull some of it down this way for the stem. Okay, cool. Got the stem. Now we have to wait a little bit for that to, oh no, actually, let's go in with the darker color while we can right now. So I've got that darker color right here. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this. That's the Payne's Gray. Ah, Payne's Gray. It's taken over. And while this is still wet, I'm dabbing a little bit at the top here to kind of give that some interest. And then I'm dabbing a little bit of it down here. And I'm letting it bleed all over the place. There we go. Now, the nice thing is that once it dries, if you're like, "Ew, I don't like that," it's easy peasy. If you're working on this 100% cotton paper, this Famui is 100% cotton paper. It allows you to put down color and pick it back up and put it back down and pick it back up. Just like you take your t-shirt made of cotton and you put it in the washer and you take it out. You put it in the washer and you take it out, right? It'll take a beating. And it'll get wet and you'll be able to do a lot more with it when you're working with your watercolor cotton papers. Okay, so this one has a little bit more interest to it, and that's because we mixed our colors instead of just taking the color right from the pan. You know, if I said, oh, I need a little more darkness in here, I could just take some of the color from the pan and put it in here, but that would be adding it together with the other ones that I already mixed. Okay, cool. So that leaf is having some more dimension. To me, this leaf looks more interesting than this leaf does here, where we primarily use the color right out of the pot. And so that's just something that yes, you can take it right out of the pot, but as you mature in your art journey, you're going to learn to mix colors and then accentuate your mixed colors with the colors from the pots. Okay. I think that gives you a little bit more flexibility. Also, a trick that you can do is to make an olive green, a dark olive green. So if you want to work with an olive green, then what you're going to need to do is work with your darkest color, in this case, the Payne's gray, like this. So either black or Payne's gray, if it's a dark, dark color. And then you're going to add yellow to it. So we're going to take some of this bright yellow. Let's see what happens here. Okay, Payne's gray has a blue undertone. So we're getting a kind of a green going there. And now what I've got is an olive green. So let me show you here. I've got a dark olive. So your black or near black combined with yellow gives you that dramatic and very natural looking olive green. You're going to want to know about that over time. Because that olive green is going to be a very natural looking color in order to make shadows. And you're going to want that olive green sometimes if you're working with foliage or a landscape and you need to put some of that more dramatic shadowing in. That can be really helpful. I can actually drop some of that olive green in here instead of using just the black or just the Payne's gray, I'm sorry. And so then I have a little more natural look because I'm using um, that dark olive. Now I'm going to add a little bit more water to my brush so it's barely there. And then I'm going to drop a shadow in here. So now I've got a nice shadow made from uh, made from the yellow and the Payne's gray. So that's my yellow and my dark color. We'll just drop a shadow in there. If the shadow's too much, you just grab your paper towel and you lift a little bit of it, and then that will make the shadow a little bit lighter. It won't be quite so intense. There you go. So now my leaf has a really cool shadow. And it was made with that darker, more intense green that you get from your darkest dark like this and your yellow. Let's see, there's another dark color on here, which is burnt umber. And I haven't tried this, but let's try it. Let's see. So let's say that I take a bunch of yellow here like that. So I've got a bunch of yellow. And then I'm going to try it with the burnt umber and just see what I get. I'll probably get some sort of dark brown, but let's see. So I've got the burnt umber. Yeah, it's just coming up as sort of a brown. That's okay. Browns are good. So this gave me a sort of a lighter brown. You see that? The yellow with the burnt umber. So really to get that dramatic shadow dark green, you want to use either Payne's gray or black and your yellow. So some people don't even like to have black on their palette. I love having black or Payne's gray on my palette because I mix them with yellows and I get varying types of olives. Okay, varying olive colors. So to me, that's very important. Very, very important. I'm going to use this light brown just to come in here and do like the center of it, just for the heck of it. Since I have it on my brush. Okay, there we go. That was fun. All right, so that's the basics of doing the leaves and mixing your colors versus just taking them right out of the pot. Um, Now let's go ahead and do one of the poppy flowers. So we're going to get some of this beautiful, what do they call it? I think they call it, they're calling it permanent red light. Permanent red light. It looks like orange to me. Let me show you. You see that? Permanent red light. So that reminds me of, hey, Waxod over on YouTube. Welcome in, welcome in. I see some very nice comments over there and a big old heart. So thank you. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. We're getting this. To me, this looks like cadmium red light is the color that it looks like to me, which cadmium red light tends toward orange. Let me show you right here. Do you see that bright? They call that a red. To me, it's more like a vermilion or a deep orange. But that's okay. I don't mind. And we're going to actually mix it with some yellow because it's a little bit intense. Instead, let's try this yellow right here. Okay, that just makes it a little bit brighter. Fabulous. Perfect for doing a nice little poppy. So we're going to start by putting in sort of a center leaf, right, or a center petal right here. And then we're going to do a petal off to the side. And I'm just sort of giving it a very a very leafy edge there. See, nothing too fancy. Anybody can do this, all right? Anybody can do it. So have fun with it. And I'm just putting the petals here. I'm leaving a little bit of space in between the petals. Okay. You see the space in between the petals because we're going to put more petals on top and another layer. And while this is still wet down here at the base, you want to take your dark color. So in this case, for me, it's my Payne's gray, or I can even use sepia, or this is a burnt umber, some sort of dark color like that. But I'm going to dip into the Payne's gray, and I'm just going to dip it right here at the base. And that's going to create a little bit of a spread right at the bottom there. Lovely. Now, the problem is you have to have patience at this point. So of course, I'm just going to paint something else, right? I'm waiting. So let's paint a branch over here. What the heck? We've got some brown here and a little bit of brown there. We have to wait for that to dry before we do the next layer. So let's get out our heat tool, whatever kind you have. There we go. This is just from one of the hobby stores. Oh, you know what? There's one more step in there. We want to make this layer look a little more filmy, and then the next layer over top of it to be a little bit darker. So I'm using just some fresh water and not too much fresh water. You see how I'm constantly like taking it and just dabbing it on my paper towel. We don't want this to be too soaking wet, otherwise it makes a mess. So what I'm doing is I'm just going into that orange and I'm wetting it again because I'm going to lift some of the color out. So I want it to be a little bit more um, pale than the next layer that we're going to put over top. Okay. So I'm just adding a little bit of water there, paper towel, lift it up so that it's not solid color. Otherwise, the next layer is going to compete with it. So we're just lifting a little bit of that out. Use a clean part of your paper towel. There you go. So we've got it sort of in the middle. It is a little more pale. I'll bring it up close so you can see in just a second. And it's just getting it wet or doing it while it's still wet. I find if you do it while it's still wet, it tends to pick up too much paint. So this way, where it was allowed to dry just a little bit, and then you pick up a little bit, you have a little more control over it. But there it is. You see there how I've lifted it and it's a little lighter in the center of the petals there. Okay, cool. Now we can dry it. Now we can dry it. There we go. that'll just start it to drying. While it started drying, I will just do a quickie little branch over here. So I've got some of my burnt umber. So it's just a dark brown color. Some of the dark brown, maybe add just a tiny bit of Payne's gray to it, just a tiny bit to get me a darker branch. There we go. Sometimes you'll find your umber, like your burnt umber, your raw umber, your burnt sienna, your raw sienna. Sometimes it just doesn't have enough oomph. It's not dark enough when you put it down. And so you can always do more layers to darken it. But at the same time, you can also add just a little bit of your dark color. In this case, it's the Payne's gray, and that helps to, and when I say a little, I mean just a little tiny bit, and that darkens it a lot. So it turns your burnt umber into a sepia, but I really like that for this set that the Van Gogh set that Royal Talons put the Payne's gray in there because I prefer to use a color to mix with than a black to mix with, unless I'm going for those exotic olives, right? Okay, so I'm just going to put a little branch over here while I'm waiting for that other thing to dry. So the cool thing is just turn your brush as you're doing your branches. Okay. That's a technique I use a lot. I turn my brush when I want something that looks a little more broken up, not even. I like to use the brush twist technique. So that helps you to get looks that are like a little more organic as you're doing them. Okay. And then I'm going to create a couple of leaves here. Okay, just a couple of leaves right there. As we're waiting for this to dry, and then I'm just going to take some greens that we made, or maybe I'll make a new one. Okay, the last time I made a green using the Prussian blue, let's make a green with yellow and the ultramarine blue. Let's see what happens. See what happens. Okay, it's a much darker. The ultramarine is actually ultramarine deep, the color right here in the middle. So the colors come out a little bit darker green. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of the sap green in with that. There we go. So now we have a little bit more complicated green. And I'm just going to, leaves are so simple when you're just doing a leaf on a branch like this. They're super simple. You just come from the base up and then here, and you just bring it to a point. Don't get upset. Just do something super simple, okay? That's those beautiful branches that Karen Elaine teaches. Just, no stress in your watercolor. Just have fun with it. Super simple leaves, right? And the thing is that each individual leaf may not look the, they're, you may not think that they're the best, but it's the combination of all of them together that gives you the look, that gives you the final look, and you go, "Oh, wow, I really like that." So that's why I encourage y'all to follow along with these books because you're on initial, you may be like, "Ooh, I don't like that." But then once it's done, you go, "Wow, I really like the way that turned out." And the technique was not that hard. Not that hard. And then I'm going to just put a leaf over here like it was uh, hanging down from somewhere else. Oops, get that tip there going. Okay, hello leaf. So that leaf was, and then I'm going to say there's another leaf coming from back behind here and hanging down. Eeh. So I need to put the other side of it right here. There we go. Just to add a little something extra, extra. Okay. Now, while those are drying, and I want to show you something with these Royal Talons paints and the fact that I was mixing the greens instead of taking it just out of one pot here. Can you see how as these are drying, they have separate little areas of color? So they're not just one solid color. They have a lot of interest to them because these various colors, if you mix them together, as they separate, they give you this nice variation in the leaves or whatever it is that you're painting. And I think that's fabulous. So can you tell? I just love the color mixing, the concept of color mixing. Okay, these were a mixture. And now this time I'm just going to go straight into that orange. So it's a little bit heavier orange than what's behind it. And now we're going to put in another set of petals over top of those. And what's going to happen is those are going to show through. You're going to be able to see those other petals underneath there. And we'll put another one out here. And as that dries, you're going to see multiple layers of the petals. There we go. And once again, now if you want to build multiple layers, if I wanted to put another layer on, I would sit here and lift some of this out, like some of this right in the center right here. But if you're only doing the two layers, you don't really have to do that. But I am going to take just a touch more of this Payne's gray and put it down in here so it can kind of move up into the other ones. And here I'll show you. You see how you get that complexity? You have the extra layering going on there. Very cool. Now, most of the time I would wait for that to dry before I put the green stem in, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. If it mashes in, that's fine. Now what I'm doing is I'm just sort of combining all these greens that I have on here. And then I'm going to do my uh, stem right here. If it's not dark enough, grab some more green and maybe a little bit of Payne's gray to darken it. There we go. And so I'm just putting in that stem part. There we go. Right there. And you know what? It doesn't matter if this is the flower's still wet and you get it up in here and then some of the green bleeds in. That's fine, right? It's all good. That's watercolor. Watercolor, let the water do the work. Okay, I'm going to take some more of that sap green, but I need to add a little something else to it. One of my favorite mixing colors to sort of the leaves look 3D and lifting off the page. Yes, they do. You're right. Just simple little tricks that I'm sharing with you here that can, just take your painting to the next level, right? So one of the yellows that I like to work with is this yellow ochre. So if I want to sort of dull down my green a little bit, I can grab a little bit of the yellow ochre instead of using these brighter yellows over here. And then that just changes the color dynamic, okay, by using yellow ochre as your yellow. It's a little more rich, it's a little more muted. And so we're going to use that for the leaf here. And I'm just going to come off of so I'm following along the stem. You see how I'm holding my brush straight up and down? I'm following along with the stem. This way I can, and I'm holding it down close so I can get more control. Following along with the stem and then coming up and out like that. So that's what it looks like right there. The beginning of the leaf. And now I can come in and do the leaf shape right here. And the interesting thing about leaves on a poppy is that they have a jagged edge to them. So first I get my leaf shape, the basic shape, and then I go back in. And that's why I like using these brushes, these round brushes with a nice, what I call a snappy tip, because then I can come in here and I can add those little sharp, sort of almost fuzzy edges to the leaf. So you see how it looks now? You've got the fuzzy leaf edges. Yee, so cute. Okay. And that is that's the basic way that you can do a multi-layered poppy. And now you're not looking at the poppy straight on where it has all that black and all that really cool stuff in the middle. This is just a basic poppy looking at it from the side, but it's cute, right? They are so cute. Okay, so those are some basic concepts. Now let's create a little bit larger piece. This is the Famui watercolor paper block, cold press paper. That means it has a little bit of texture to it. And it's 100% cotton, 140 pounds. And so I'm going to lay this out here and we're going to create I think I'm going to do it this way. So we'll see how much of that fits into the frame. I may have to pull the frame back for you. Okay, let's move this aside a little bit. I'm going to move these tubes out of the way. Oh, I may not need those on the table right now. There we go. And I always have this handy so I can see what my colors are. That's my color chart right there. Ooh, I always have some water handy, right? All right, let me see how well that's fitting on there so that you can see it. Mm, Here, I think I'll put this over here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to use some of these concepts, but first we're going to let's do a little quickie drawing. And the idea is I want to be able to put do the leaves, like we were doing the leaves, right? And we're going to do a leaf and then we're going to pick up the paint with our paper towel so that the leaf is not quite um, so dark green because we want this to show over top of it, right? Where the dragonfly is. So, should I do this with a pen or a pencil? Maybe I'll start with a pencil. I'm not quite that brave to do it with a pen. No, no, no. So let's just use, oop, that one's a little too dark. I only have 50 million pencils right here, right? Let me get one that's good for this. Where did my favorite pencil go? That's okay. I'll use this one. E. This is the forever pencil, they call it. It's not quite forever, but um, here, you take, that's the lead right there. Can you see that? Where you take it off like that. And this lasts a lot longer than a regular pencil does. And I was given this or I bought it. Somebody gave Critter Chops on Whatnot, either gave it to me or I bought it. Hey, Waxwood. Buy not blue. Yeah, come back, come back. I hope you'll come back and like the stream, please, on YouTube. So the interesting thing about this Forever pencil, well, for one thing, it's heavy. I like the heft of it, um, but it gives you sort of a light line. Let me show you on here. So as you're drawing, you see how the line is kind of light, and yet it will still erase with a regular eraser like that. Isn't that cool? So what magic is this? I don't know, but it's a really nice type of pencil for when you're going to do a sketch for a project. Now, what direction? See how this guy is facing in this direction, but I kind of I want it to face this direction to the left because it's just easier for me as a right-handed person. Um, I want it facing in that direction like this one is instead of facing here. So I'll just have to do the mental gymnastics to turn it, to turn it like that when I'm doing my drawing. But what I want to do here is I want to create a branch. So I'm gonna just do it like this for drawing purposes. So I'm gonna bring a branch from over here and I'm gonna have some leaves coming off here. And then let's bring more of the branch here. What I want to do is I want to put my dragonfly in this area right here. So I want him on a leaf. Ooh, I don't like that right in the center though. Do I really want it right in the center? Let me see. I'm trying to figure out where I want the dragonfly. I think I want the dragonfly right in here. So let's, maybe I should do the dragonfly first and then put the leaf underneath it, right? So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my reference photo. So I'm going to put the reference photo right here so that you can see it kind of along with me. But this is just from Pixabay. I went on to Pixabay and I said dragonflies or dragonfly on a leaf. And then these are the kind of things that it showed me, okay, as for reference material. So I'm going to put the head of the dragonfly here. It kind of has two little bulbs. I'll bring this up closer to show you in just a moment. So that's part of the head, and then we have the body. We have the body area that the wings are attached to, the thorax, I guess you would call that, right? And I'm just sketchy drawing this. The nice thing is, again, 100% cotton paper, so it allows me to draw to erase on it pretty easily. Okay, and then this part is gonna come way down and get more narrow. Oops, not narrow enough. Let's make you more narrow. So this is where it helps to do the sketchy sketch part. Okay, we're gonna go narrow, and at the very end, they have like this little sort of two little antennae kind of things sticking out of the back end of them. Okay. Okay, so we've got that there. Nice. So I've got the body of the dragonfly like that. Nothing too fancy schmancy. Now the leaves. Listen to me. Now the wings. So the wing is not just from the body and then up a little bit, angles up a little bit. So we're gonna bring it out sort of from the body, and then we're going to angle it up just a little bit and bring it around and back down. Oops, it needs to go down like that. Okay, so something like that right there. All right. Ooh, have your eraser handy. It is okay to erase. And then we're going to do same thing over here. That's why it helps to have yeah, it helps to have a picture to do your drawing from. I think it does anyway. Okay. So this is going to come down here and then come back up. Oh, that one's, you know what? This always happens to me. The one above is longer and the one below is shorter. That always happens to me, but it's okay. It's all right. It's me, not you. So let's bring this down and then it sort of meets at the same place as the, so it is not the same. They are not the same, but you know what? This is real life art, right? It does not have to be the same. It is okay. There we go. So there's that one. And then we want to do the bottom ones. Now, sometimes you see here, it's a little difficult to see the bottom ones. They're there, it's there, but it's much more clear on this one, isn't it? Let's look at these other ones over here. This one's more from the side. So that's if you want a side view, that's a little bit different. So I'm just going to use this one right here, but I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit down this way because I can, right? Because I can, because we're the artists. Okay, so now we're going to come out from just below there. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sort of come out and then raise it up just a little bit. And then we're going to sort of bring it down and then up. So we're doing something like this, where it comes down below where the thorax, that's this part of the body, matches. Oop, can you guys see that? So the body, the main part of the body is here, and then you've got the rear end here of the tail, and it comes down below where the tail attaches. Okay, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm bringing it down below where the tail attaches to the rest of the body. Okay, and then I'm going to do the other side. They do not have to match, okay, because we're human. It's okay. It took me a long time to figure that out. It's like, you know what? We're artists, and it is okay if everything does not like just match. Okay, it's okay. We don't have to have everything match. I'll bring that there and up. Okay, so there are our two wings like this. I hope you can see that okay. The nice thing about like I said, the nice thing about this pencil is that it's going to give you this really light uh, image on this cotton paper. And that just makes it that much easier to like not have to erase it, just paint right over top of it, right? Okay. So now perfect it a little bit if you want to. If you don't want to, that's also fine. Let me bring this up just a little bit more. Okay. And then, oh, you know what is interesting? The eyes angle. So they come up and then they angle back. I love the look of insects. I've always been like enamored with insects. So this is why I'm like, oh, I want to get this guy right. Because I love the way the eyes look on the compound eyes on these insects. Okay. So now that we've got the dragonfly there, let's look at where do I want to put the leaf? Because here in this picture, the leaf is underneath the dragonfly sitting on the leaf, right? So let me put that there so you can also see it. So I'm going to assume this dragonfly is sitting on a leaf. And if I turn it this way, so it kind of matches the direction that my dragonfly is going, then I've got, I actually want the leaf to come from here. Where do I want the leaf to come from? I want the leaf to come from here. And then I'm going to bring the leaf around here. I'm making it up as I go along, y'all, right? It's okay. You can do that. So I'm putting a big leaf here, essentially. And it comes here and comes around here. Just looking to make sure that I've got the tree coming from over here, not from behind it. So I'm trying to give you the feel for exactly how I sort of design these things. Okay. So I need that to come there. All right. So we've got a leaf. There's a leaf underneath them like that. And so we need to do the other leaves sort of approximately the same size. This one's coming up to a branch, and then there's going to be another leaf over here. This is just going to come up and almost go off the page here. It's also going to come behind the dragonfly. Okay, so I've got a leaf here, a leaf here. Now, this area over here is where I want some branches and another leaf or two. So let's see, we'll put the leaves back a little bit so they're a little more on their own. So this is going to come down to a branch that's coming up this way. And then we're going to have another branch that sort of comes up off of this way. And we're going to do another leaf out here. No, don't like that leaf shape. It's okay. It's okay. That's why I'm using pencil, right? So that I can just modify it if I want to. Okay, there's another leaf right there. So I've got a leaf here, a leaf here, a leaf here. This leaf is a little bit big, so I'm going to make this leaf a little bit smaller. Now that I'm looking at my other leaves. So I think I've shown y'all before, but this is my favorite eraser. It's the Staedtler Mars. It's a rubber white eraser, like a they call it a plastic eraser, and it's my favorite. It is definitely my favorite. Okay, so we've got this leaf has to come back just a little bit, just a little bit. It's a little bit too big. So we're going to bring it here. I'm constantly realigning my marks for something like this. Okay, that's a better size of leaf right there. Actually, it's going to come out this way just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Okay. You could have drawn your leaf first and then done your dragonfly on top of it. That would also work. Okay. If you wanted to get the leaves the size you wanted them and the positions you wanted them first. Okay. Let me just get the end of this one a little bit more like that. And don't make your leaves all like exactly the same leaf shape. Okay. Vary the leaf shape. So we've got one branch coming up this way. We've got this one where we've got a leaf coming down here. The branch is going to continue down here. Okay. So you do need to sort of pencil in your your branches there. And I'm not going to work on this side of the painting right now. Okay. Um, I'll finish that off camera, but what I'll end up doing is deciding, do I want more just general leaf foliage over here? What am I going to do? But today we're focusing on the dragonfly, okay? And doing what we have to do with the dragonfly. Okay. So the leaves, I can finish all of this later. That's just background. And I may even decide after I'm done that the composition is a square and I may not even need what's going on over here. So don't you worry yourself about that. All right, so I have a general idea here of what is going on. I'll probably add more leaves all around it, but the leaves or the greenery that are around it may be softer. You see how this is all soft back in here, right? So you can do something like that. All right, so I'm just going to stick that over there in front of me, get another drink of water, and then we'll get started. Um, So let me use, I want a little bit bigger brush than this this is the size 6. For the leaves, I want a little bit bigger brush. So I've got the 10 right here. This is the Princeton Velvet Touch number 10. And I also have larger of the Famui. They're just over at my other table. They work great too. And if you saw one of my last workshops, I used this flat from the Famui. That also works well as well for what we're doing here. See, I get the excess water out. Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? Let's see, let's see. We are going to start out. You know what? I'm going to start out getting this orange and brown off of here. Yee, because I don't really need that at the moment. We need the greens, but we don't need that. Okay. There we go. Okay. And we have this other little one over here too that we can use. Okay. I'm just going to stick that off to the side for right now. Right now, we want to work with those leaves. Well, we want to work with the branch. So let's start with the branch. This is the yellow ochre. I'm not going to do the branch as yellow ochre. But you know what? Let me just pick up a lot of water and a little bit of the yellow ochre. And I'm just going to sort of go in for part of the leaves here. Why not? We can do that. So you should be able to see that a little bit better right there. So I'm just sticking a little bit of it in where the leaves are going to be. Why not? So I'm actually going where it's okay to go right under the dragonfly. Okay. Because this is going to dry. Um, I'll just take it in the area where it's under the dragonfly and I'll lift a little bit of that off. But you can leave a little bit of the yellow there. It's okay. I love yellow ochre for like very natural looking things here. So I've got some yellow ochre on this leaf, a little bit of yellow ochre on the other leaf here. And it'll just blend in with what we're working on as we put the greens on it. It'll give it some variation. Let's take some of that sap green here. Oh, you know what? I want to do the branch first. Sorry. Let's do the branch. Um, so I put some yellow ochre so that I could add some burnt sienna to it. Nice. And then add a little bit of the Payne's gray. Yee, there we go. Nice branch color, just like that. Here, let me do it this way so you can see me using that. No, move. Okay. So I'm not going straight. I could go straight down like this and see how the color goes on very evenly that way. But I don't like that. I want the color to be a little more gritty. So I'm going to turn my brush a little bit to the side and just use like this part of it right here on its side. And when I run it along here, I'm getting uneven edges. And that's what I want. I want the unevenness. I want the little bit of brokenness. I want right? I don't want it perfect. I can come back in and make the lines, the edges of it perfect later. What I want right now is I want to sort of imperfect. See what I'm doing there? So not going straight like this, putting it a little bit on its side and bringing it out like that. And that's going to give me a little bit of brokenness in the background there. And I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay. And I'm just going to bring a little bit more of it here. See how I'm turning the painting? Sometimes I turn the painting. There we go. Now I'm taking advantage of the roughness of the paper. And now I'm going back over it a little bit. Again, I want that just lightly touching the top of the paper so I can get that kind of roughness. I'm working on what's called cold press paper, which has texture to it. So I'm taking advantage of that texture. Let's just bring a little bit more in here. So it's not even. I don't want it to be even. I want it to be like textured. And that'll give your painting more interest too. So, okay. So you see how it's not even, and I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So that's the branch at this point. It's a little bit straight. If I thought about it a little bit more, I would have curved it a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The focus is going to be on the dragonfly, right? The dragonfly. Okay. So I want to get that leaf done underneath the dragonfly. Let's go for some more of those greens. We'll start with the lighter green. We got some yellow in there, so I've made it a little bit lighter. And now I can be a little bit more careful with where I put it, like this, right? Bit more careful, but I want the light green even under the dragonfly's wings. But while it's still wet, I'm going to pick some of this up right here where the wing is going to be. Okay. So because the wing is a little bit transparent, right? So we're going to see that underneath there. Okay. A little bit more on the other ones. Oop. This one right here. So don't worry, put it on, just lay it in. Nice light green color. We're going to, while it's still wet, we're going to pick a lot of it up. So don't worry about it. Just sort of get the outline or the shape of your leaf and then go back in there and pull it off where the wings are going to be, right here, where some of the body's going to be. Okay, just like that. So you've still got the greenery underneath here. You can make sure there's plenty of green right there, right underneath here. And it's just a hint underneath where the wings are, okay? Right there in between the wings, making sure I dropped a little bit more in. But do you see how you still got a little bit of that yellowish green there underneath it? Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. And then let's just pick up the last of it right here and put it in on this one. So this is the light green. We're just sort of putting it over, getting our space idea here. Go right over where the wing overlaps. It's okay. And so we've got some more of that green in there. So this is how I like to build up my design, a little bit at a time. This one here is a little bit greener, and that's just because there was a little bit more paint on there. So I'm just adding a whole lot of water and a little bit more paint, and I'll just bring a little bit more onto here just to get it a little bit more green. Ooh, there we go. And right where the wing is, we're gonna lift that up and come back around it. There, I hope you saw that. I hope you saw that. There's a little bit of water right here. Let's get that up off of there. Okay. The nice thing about 100% cotton paper is that you can put paint down and pick it up and put it down and pick it up. It's very forgiving, and it is very good at letting you relift your color if you need to, like what we just did. But if you look closely, you're going to see that underneath that dragonfly, we've got, there's still a little bit of color there because the wings at least are a little bit translucent, right? And we're going to want to be able to see through it. Now, this almost lifted all the color up, so I want to do that one more time so it doesn't lift quite so much color up. Now, if you get paint where you don't want it, my favorite brush is this Princeton Willows blender. It's a blender brush with a stiff bristle, and you just get that wet. And if you have paint where you don't want it, usually I wait till the paint is a little more dry to do this. But the nice thing about a cotton paper is it will let you sort of scrub it a little bit and then lift that color out like that. So it's very easy to do a repair. You might call it a repair. There we go. And if there was too much green underneath there, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I want to take just a little bit more of that green off of there. Perfect. Just like that. It's just, I'm just lightly dabbing it and then there. Okay, because that wing's going to go over top of there. And the wing's going to go over top of here also. Just using the blender, getting a little bit more of that off of there. Okay, perfect. There we go. So there, see how there's a little bit of green under there, but not too much. Okay, so I'm trying to think if I want to start on the dragonfly yet or not. Not yet. I want to do a little bit more on the leaves and then we'll go to the dragonfly. Okay. So again, this is my number 10. And now let's get a little bit darker green, not too dark, but a little bit darker. Um, okay, this green that I said was what they call viridian green, or some people call it phthalo green. You see how it looks? It looks very fake, right? It doesn't look real. It's a very artificial type of color, but you can use other colors with it. Like, let's take a little bit of this. This is the burnt sienna, which has kind of a reddish look to it. So when I put the two together, do you see how I get a more convincing green that looks more like a leaf green, but it's a little bit darker than this one was up here, this sap green. Okay, so you're if you are on a watercolor journey, you really need to play with your different colors. What if I take this and I mix it with that? What if I take that and I mix it with that? As a matter of fact, let me show you real quick. Ooh, let me put that right there. Um, in this notebook right here, this is the lesser expensive notebook. These are some of my color explorations using this set right here. I always like to see there's no purple in here. So I always like to work with the reds and blues to see what kind of purples I can get. And then I also work with the colors to see what sort of flesh colors I can get. And then what kind of olives and darks I can get for my landscapes. So that's kind of what I do to work out a set to see if I think it's a good set. And I think this is a great set. Okay, so I've got this beautiful darker green. Let's do that again. A little bit of Viridian, which looks artificial. And then I'm going to add to it. Now, the opposite of green on the color wheel is red, right? And this is burnt sienna, which is a very earthy looking red. It's earthy, that's the key. So because it's an earthy red, when I combine it with that artificial looking green, I get this beautiful, more natural looking green, right? It's like, how the heck can you get that from that? Well, it's knowing what to mix it with, right? I'm going to make sure I have plenty of water here. I actually want to lighten it up just a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of this sap green. There we go. Lots of water with it. Use lots of water with your watercolor, right? Okay, let's do this again then. Now, don't cover the whole leaf, all right? We're only covering part of the leaf. I don't need to cover the whole thing because I already have some green down there. So I'm actually adding a little bit more water. At this point, if I wanted to, where I added the water, I can lift some of the color out because you can always go back in and add more. But that's going to give you a little more leaves that have a lot of interest to them. Okay, here we go over here. Lots of water. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm just going to drop some of it in. I'm avoiding the area where the dragonfly's wing is going to go right now. Okay, so I'm going to assume the light is coming from over here maybe. And so I want to make this part darker and leave that part up there lighter. And let me lift just a little bit of that so that I can always go back in and add more, right? I'm just sort of building layers in here. All right. And then here. Now this one, I don't want to go back underneath. Well, why don't we do it? I'll just go here on this side, and then I'll lift some of that back out where the leaves are, where the wings are. Why not? Lift it out where the wings are. There we go. Okay. Let's just go over where this guy is. And then I'm going to lift some more of it out where the wings are. There we go. And a little bit more here. Okay. Cool. Now I need to deepen some of this because I was keeping it light because of going over where the dragonfly was. But right now I'm going to take a little bit of the deeper color. And I'm just going to go in here and deepen a little bit of this because right around where the dragonfly is going to be dark, right? Right around where these wings and things are going to be. This leaf is going to be dark. Right in between there. Right underneath here. And where's that little body of yours? Hey? Right here. Right here. As the leaf is going to be darkest right near where the dragonfly is. There we go. Remember, with good cotton paper, I can always lift some of that color back out, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, one more time on the leaves. I want to put some darker color on there again. So I'm going to take some more of the funky looking green, the Viridian they say in this set, but sometimes it's called phthalo green. And then I'm going to use some more of this. Um, what was that color? Oh, burnt sienna. There. Now that's a little darker. I'm not adding the lighter or anything. I'm going for some of the darker. So I'm gonna go in here with some of the darker color. You don't have to do the whole thing with darker, but I like to usually do right around the edges with the darker. Lift some of it. Will give you those interesting marks. Okay. Over here on this one, make sure you can see that okay. Yep. Okay, on this side of it, I want it to be darker on this side of it, right around the wing, this side, and a little bit up around here. So we're just adding interest and adding layers to that. We can always come back in and add more. Okay. So take your time and build it up, build them up. Take your time. Love this color though with the Viridian and the burnt sienna. Love those colors. We're going to do this again. We're going to build this area up right here in between the wings. There we go. A little bit more in here around the edge there. Just to make it interesting, right? Let's make it interesting. Underneath there. Underneath here. Right along the body. I'm just tapping along the body to get some more darkness there. There we go. And remember, you're painting, so it's okay to like put strokes into what you're working on. It's okay to show the strokes. I'm not trying to be a realist. If I were trying to be a realist, I might try to smooth everything, but I'm not trying to be a realist. I'm just playing and having fun. Okay. And then usually when I let go and just play and have fun, then something fabulous often comes out of it. We need to let that dry for just a minute before we start working on the dragonfly. So I have noticed right here, there's a little dot. You see that little tiny dot of green right there? And so I'm going to show you if it bothered me. If it doesn't bother me, I wouldn't, if the background's going to be a little bit green, I wouldn't even worry about it, right? But if it's something that bothers you at all, you're going to take that scrubber and I'm just going to put a little bit of water on there and just gently dab at it until most of it is up. And then I'm going to take a clean spot of my paper towel. And it's not completely gone, but it's gone enough that when I paint around it, you're not even going to notice it. Okay. So that's how I repair things. But isn't this cool how you can see the dragonfly sort of through there, right? Because we want to see a little bit of that green underneath the dragonfly there. And the trick is going to be using transparent colors on the wings. Okay, we're going to want to use transparent colors on the wings. Hey, and if you're over on YouTube, if you don't mind, if you could like the video, that'd be a huge help. Thank you. I appreciate it. And later I'll have links in the description of the video if you want to buy any of these paints and supplies. Okay, let me get my uh, heater going here. I want to be sure. I'm actually going to be adding a lot of water to those wings of the dragonfly, but I do need the area where the green is to initially be dry. There we go. Nice. Only takes a little bit to get it to dry up. faster, faster. So it is important when you're doing watercolor, that give and take of your hot, I mean your dry and not dry, right? Okay. So I just want to make sure that's well in the picture for you. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm going to switch to a new paper towel because as your paper towel gets more and more stuff on it, like I'll set this aside because there's still a lot of white, but it's for the most part, it's very moist. So I'm going to set it aside and let it dry and get another one. Here we go. Another paper towel. Eat. So that I'll be ready for the dragonfly. Okay. Ah, I'm so excited about the dragonfly. Um, and I'm going to switch back to, I think I'm going to switch back to the size 6 brush right now because I want a little more control in where I'm placing the water at the moment. That 10 is fabulous, by the way. It is fabulous, but here we go. What am I doing? Getting the excess water off the ferrule, which is this part right here. And you can get the excess part off the brush too if you want to. And then usually I'll just tap the tip right here just a little bit to be sure it's not like too wet like that. But what we want to do right now is we want to get these wings wet. So I'm even going over where the green is. I just want to get the wings wet because we're going to do a wet and wet technique. Okay. So we need these wings to be wet. The nice thing is, since um, I've already dried the green leaf, this is not going to lift up too much of that green paint while I'm doing this because I already dried it and I'd already patted it and lifted quite a bit of the color out. Okay, so those wings right now are wet. And you can wet the other set as well at the same time, but I find it's better to work on one set of wings and then while they have that little bit of wetness to them, and then go to the next set of wings. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit of this water off. I want it to be damp. I don't want it to be soaking. Okay. So just a little tap, just making sure that so everywhere that that top wing is, I'm going to be putting paint on there. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go, I want transparent colors. So the first transparent color is this quinacridone. Any color that has a name in it that says quinacridone means that it is transparent. So here, this is quinacridone rose. That's the color that's in the little pan there. And so this one is transparent. And you can tell that on the tube, there's a little block right there, and the block is white. So that means that it is transparent. If a color is like all the colors I picked out here are transparent, aren't they? Of course, because I prefer to mix with transparent colors. Let's see, I have a box here of a whole bunch of Van Goghs that I bought. So let me find one. This one's called Lavender, and you see how the little block here has a line through it and it's half black and half white. That means it's semi-transparent or semi-opaque. Let me see if I have any opaque colors here. Yes, I do, actually. Opaque white. And so right there is the little block, and you can see the little block is all black, right? That means it's opaque. So that is important to know that you can look at that on the labels. And whenever I'm color mixing, my preference is to color mix with colors that are transparent. So most of the colors I have in my box here are transparent because they're the best to do this color mixing with. Okay, so while I've been yammering, these got a little bit dry. They're still moist, but they got just a little bit dry. So I want to be able to see just a light mist. I don't want it to be soaking. I don't want it to be absolutely glistening, but I do want it to look wet when I look at it from the side. Okay. All right, cool. So everywhere that we put that water is where our paint is going to run, right? There we go. So that's called a wet and wet technique. So let's get a little bit of that magenta going. Magenta. There we go. I just love magenta. I use it a lot. I mean, of all the colors in here, that magenta is the one that's used the most. Okay. Woo, here we go. If you feel like it's too concentrated, let's go to here. You can put some of it off in your little well here and then add just a little bit more water to your brush so that it's a little less concentrated. And so we're just going to drop some of it in here and you'll see it spread. It's spreading. Okay, it's gonna spread. You can always go back in and add more, right? So don't worry about that. But we want it to sort of spread. If I want it darker, I can go back in and add more later. We just want that initial, like, we want the initial whoosh of it spreading. And look at me, I've got it like all over the place. I've got it here, I've got it here. It's okay. But it's that initial, you see how it's just beginning to spread. We don't want it too heavy because we still want to kind of see the leaf underneath it, right? We want to see we want that transparency so that we still get the feel of the leaf underneath it. We don't want to cover that up. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and while that's now oh no, I need to go to my next color. Okay. So I need another color that is transparent. The I mixed my, oh, let's use this one right here. This is the turquoise green. I mixed my own turquoise, but I'll probably use that for the background and I'll show you how I mix the turquoise. But this is a beautiful turquoise green. So let's put the turquoise green in here. Let's get this one. Let's clean this. And we'll put some turquoise green in here. Just a little bit, just a tiny bit. And that'll be the next color that I dip in there. Okay. So this color did not come in there. All right. It just happens to be a color that I really like because it's close to that heavy turquoise that I showed you, but it's a little greener. Ah, beautiful. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to need, so let's put a little bit in there. You know what? I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of yellow in there. That yellow is the binder. So I'm actually going to pull that out of there because most of it was binder. And I'm going to squeeze a little bit more in. Come on, binder. Gum Arabic is the binder for watercolors. And sometimes when you have a new tube, it'll have gum Arabic on the top. That's okay. Okay, here we go. Let's do that. And then let's add a little bit of water to this. Ooh, pretty. Okay, more water, because I want it to be a little bit runny. I don't know if this is still wet enough. Let's see. It's not really, it's not spreading as much as I want it to. Okay, I'm going to use another brush and I'm just going to add a little bit more water in here just to bring it back to being damp. Not too wet, just damp. So I'm going to need to do that here too. Let's bring some more water in there. Like that. There we go. Because we kind of want it to, we want it to run a little bit, right? Even if it runs a little bit into that magenta, it's okay. Okay. So we're sort of bringing that up and in here. Later, we'll go back and we can use a pen or we can use a brush and we can add in the little, the little detail lines that you see on a wing like that. Okay, now the next one I want to add is just a little touch of yellow up here at the top of the wing. So this yellow, this lemon yellow is actually transparent. It is a transparent yellow. So it's a little bit lemony, so I might add just a little bit of this warmer yellow right here. There we go. Okay, I like that color better. So again, I'm sort of dropping it in here and letting it spread, right? Dropping it in here. Oops. It's wanting to combine with the that turquoise and kind of give a bit of a green color, but that's okay. If it's too green up here and you want it to be more yellow, you just lift it back out, clean your brush, grab a little bit more of that yellow and drop it in. So I can like sort of maintain that yellow just a little bit more. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to lift a little bit of it here because it combined with that turquoise and gave me more of a yellow, I mean, more of a green, and I want it to be a little more yellow at the tip there. There we go. Nice. Okay. Then we have to let those dry. We're going to repeat the process down here on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put some water where I want the paint to spread. I love the way that the paint just sort of spreads and the colors marry together like that. Okay, here we go. So this is, I'm not getting it on the body. I'm just getting it on the wings. Okay. Just water on the wings like that. There we go. And then we're gonna drop our colors in, but we may want to, um, I'm constantly looking at it. I'm constantly looking at my surface to be sure that there's, it's not, it's that Goldilocks moment, right? Where it's not too wet, but not too dry either. And you just have to play with wet and wet techniques to get comfortable with getting it where you want it to be. Okay, I'm going to set that brush aside and we'll come back over here. We're going to grab some of that pink again. That's so beautiful. A little bit more, just a tiny bit more. Make sure you have enough water on your brush so it'll spread. And then let's put the pink in here, up along the top and then down. It's not as dark as I want it. So I want it just a tiny bit darker, tiny bit. I want it to show up just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, nice. Not so much that it overwhelms the green underneath, but just enough so that it sort of spreads out and still remains a little bit pink. Okay, there we go. Let's get that right there. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. So now what are we going to do? We're going to go with this beautiful, what did they call it? Turquoise green. Turquoise green. Yeah, so it's a turquoise, but it leans more green. We're going to sort of bring that there, bring it into the center here. When it combines with the magenta, it almost looks purple, which is really cool. Love that. I'm not mad at it. That's the idea is you kind of want the colors to blend together. If you don't like how they're blending, what do? You just lift it back out, adjust your water, bring some more of the color in, right? You lift it out. I don't want too much to be there because I want more of the yellow to show on that tip. There we go. Okay, let's take some more of that turquoise green over here. Now this side is beginning to become dry. I can feel it. So the paint is more or less staying where I put it instead of getting that beautiful blending going on. So I'm just going to put a little bit extra water in there and a little more color. Nice. Nice. Now I can see that I want just a little bit more of this magenta in here. So I'm just dabbing it in on top there, sort of blending it with that with that beautiful turquoise color. Okay, now it's time to go back to the yellow for the tips, right? I want to make sure I'm going to use a brush with clean water. So I'm going back to this one with clean water and making sure that that tip is still damp because it looks like when I look at it from the side, it looks like it has dried. Oop, you get back in there. So it looks like it's fully dry, but I don't want it dry. I want it to spread with the other colors that are there. Okay, so I just wet it again. Let's go. We had the two yellows, right? We had this yellow, this bright lemon yellow, and then I took a little bit, just warmed it up a tiny bit with that warmer yellow right there. You get kind of an in between. Okay, here we go. I'm going to drop it back in there. Nice on the edges there. Now you can do any color combination you want. I would suggest that you practice and you play with your colors and your color combining and get the colors that you really like to put together. Okay. For a project like this. Practice, play. Okay, cool. So I like that. I like where those are going. I think the best thing to do sometimes is just to let that dry. Now I am going to go ahead and get started on the body while that's drying. Ooh, let me hit it with the heat gun. So I like to start the drying process by hitting it with the heat gun just to get it going. Pretty. There we go. Because now I want to come in here and I want to start working on the body while those wings dry. And so, what do we want to do with the body? I kind of like the image of this one being orange, but I also like the little bit, like the little pop of turquoise right there. So let's do this. We're gonna, I wanted to show you how I mixed a turquoise here. So the turquoise that came out of the tube, let me do that. Let me squeeze a little more out so you can see. This one that came out of a tube is called turquoise green. And oh my goodness, there's so much binder. Stop with the binder there. Okay, here we go. Um, so the turquoise green, let me use one of my, this right here. You can see that I was practicing with it, right? Trying different blends. And so this is the turquoise green right here. Let's add some water. Turquoise green. Okay, beautiful turquoise, but it tends more toward green. Okay, and really nice to be able to just buy a tube and squeeze it out, and there you go, you've got it. But this one up here that tends a little more toward blue, I mixed that one. So how did I mix it? I'm going to set this aside so I don't get paint everywhere, and we'll let that dry for just a moment while I'm showing you this. So what I did here to get this really dense, absolutely gorgeous and dense turquoise is that I combined, this is called phthalo green and this is called phthalo blue. So phthalo is PHTHALO. It's short for phthalocyanine, which they usually don't want to put, all of phthalocyanine on the label. So they just say phthalo, PHTHALO. Anytime you see a phthalo color, it's transparent. And what did I say earlier? I love color mixing with transparent colors, right? So this is your phthalo green. That's the one that looks like this viridian. It's very artificial looking right here. And then this is phthalo blue, which is a beautiful transparent blue. And when I mix them together, I got this gorgeous turquoise that tends more toward blue as opposed to this one out of the tube that is a green turquoise. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did that. I put a little bit of this phthalo blue. Mind you, phthalo blue is not in this set. Okay, it doesn't come in the set, but I highly recommend, because it's an excellent mixing color, that you get a tube of phthalo blue, and I'll make sure to link it in the description of the video. And then this one is the phthalo green. Now, because these are professional paints, when you look on the back, you're going to be able to see what the pigment number is. So this phthalo green is PG7. That's that wild looking mixing color that I showed you earlier, that like it looks like an artificial green, but it's perfect for color mixing, which you would be like, how the heck did you figure that out? But that's years of color mixing. So I'm going to put this phthalo green right here, and I'll show you the two colors separately. So we have phthalo blue. Ah, more water, more water. Here is phthalo blue. Some people call this primary blue. So there, and it's a beautiful luminescent transparent blue. And then here is the phthalo green. Right here, we'll grab a little bit of the green. And this is the one that looks completely artificial. You look at it and go, okay, that has no no semblance toward nature, right? Those two. So we've got phthalo blue and phthalo green. And when you add the two together, you get this rich turquoise that I have mixed here. So let's do that. And then you can adjust the turquoise. So for instance, this is the blue is overtaking that green. So I have to add a little bit more of the green. So phthalo green here, a little bit more green. That's why I have these individual little containers. This is Crow Canyon. They're like little mini butcher trays. And I love these for color mixing. They're fantastic. So I mix custom colors in these all the time. Wow. Okay. I'm going to need a lot more of the phthalo green, because what I'm still, that phthalo blue is very strong. So right now it is a bit of a turquoise. Let me lift some of that so you can see it better. It is a turquoise, but it's a dark, dark, dark. See how it tends way more toward blue? The nice thing about mixing your own turquoise like this, though, is you can adjust that. So I'm going to add some more phthalo green. It's like, come on, phthalo green. But this is how you get the most gorgeous turquoises, y'all. Phthalo blue, phthalo green. Yes, now you're talking. And it's a transparent color. Oh, just so beautiful. So beautiful. Okay, now we got it. And let me get a bunch of that out of there. And then I'll show you here. This was adding a bunch more phthalo green. And it's a very dark color, you can see. Ah, there we go. So that is more like a turquoise, right? So this was a bluer turquoise, and there's a middle turquoise, I would call that. And then this is out of the tube, and that's a greener turquoise, right? Okay. So that's a little bonus. That's how you can mix your own turquoise. And I use turquoise a lot. Now, just so you know, you can buy a color called phthalo turquoise. Phthalo turquoise is this color out of the tube. So you don't have to mix it. If you don't want to mix it, you could just buy it. It's called a convenience color, meaning they've already mixed it together. It's this beautiful, it's this beautiful rich turquoise like this. It's a transparent color, amazing. But if you have these two tubes, of course, you can mix these two colors along with a lot of other colors to get all kinds of variations. So that's where maybe I'll do a workshop just on color mixing, so we can do some more things like this. I actually learned to make turquoise in a color mixing class. And I have used it ever since. I love turquoise, mixing my own turquoises, because then you can play around with the intensity and get all different kinds of colors out of it. So let me just get my brush clean here. What I'm doing is depositing some more of that color that's on my brush in here, and it'll just dry, and then I'll have all that paint to use later. Ooh, love that. Okay, let's clean this out. See, I was testing it and I'm like, ooh, I have to share that with everybody. I gotta share that with everybody because that's my favorite color to mix. Okay, new paper towel, new paper towel. Let's go back to our little buddy here because now we have some beautiful turquoise that we can use on the wing or the body, rather. Let's put some turquoise on the body. Ooh, you see how soft this has gotten now? You see how soft these colors are, the way they've sort of dried and the colors lighten up and they've blended together, but you can still kind of see a little bit of the outline of the leaf underneath there. Oh, so nice. So nice. Let's work on the body. Um, and then we'll go back to the wings, to the wings. So with the body, I'm going to do a light wash of this turquoise. So I'm just going to start. Ooh, you know what? If I want to put orange on there, I don't want to do orange and turquoise on top of each other. So I'm actually going to, let's do the upper part of the body with some orange. And then this back area right here, I'm going to put a little bit of turquoise in between the orange and the tail. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to make little, let me look at them. What direction does that go in? Okay. So they kind of go like this as it goes down the body, yada, yada, like this. So I'm just using my brush and making little section marks on there with the turquoise. Oh, it's so pretty. But I had to use lots of water with it because the turquoise that I mixed is just super dense, right? I'm just making little C shapes and then I'll just put the little tails on there. There we go. Okay. And then I'm also going to put a little bit of this right here where the eyes meet the body. There's a little section right here. The eyes are up here and they sort of come around and they meet the body. And so I'm just going to make that turquoise. Why not? Okay, there we go. Okay, um, clean this out because I want orange and blue are opposite each other on the color wheel. So what that means is that it looks good if you put orange and blue next to each other like this, but not if you mix them together. If you mix them together, what you're going to get is a neutral color. So for instance, you see this little bit of orange in here. If I take just a little bit of this turquoise, which is a blue, and I add it in with it, it mutes the color. See how I got a gray just like that? Which is important to know because you may need a gray, right? If you want to create a shadow, you may need a quickie gray just like that. Oops, I'm getting gray on there. It's okay. Let me make sure it's not too wet. I'm going to put a little bit of that gray under the wing on the leaf, right? Because I want to show a little bit of a shadow on the leaf. Eeh, not too much, just a little bit. And lift a little bit here. And I'm going to put the gray right here because we want the area underneath the wing here to just look a little bit darker. There you go. But not too dark. So we'll go in here like this. right? So there's a use for gray. It's important to know how to mix grays and muted colors as you're painting. And that's one way to do it, is to take opposite colors on the color wheel. So we did orange and in this case turquoise for the blue, and bam, look at that. We got a gray just like that. Crazy. I'm actually going to put some of that gray right here along the body too, on the leaf, but along the body, because that's where um, there should be a little bit of a shadow right there too, right? Right along the leaf, not off of the leaf, just on the leaf. Constantly doing this, putting color down and lifting it back up. Okay, good. So that way, when you look at it, the uh, fire firefly, listen to me, the dragonfly is going to look like it's on top of the leaf because you've lifted it up by putting some shadowing underneath it. Okay, so there we go. I'm just trying to get rid of the little line that's showing there. There we go. All right, I'm waiting on that turquoise to dry so that we can put in now. um the eyes up here, I'm going to use the Payne's gray. I'm going to use that Payne's gray all the way up here. So the Payne's gray is almost black, right? Has just that slight blue undertone to it. Perfect for doing the eyes. So the eye is going to come up here like this and angle down. Oh, you know what? This is not the best brush for this. I'm going to show you what the best brush is for that. And that is this little brush that came in the set. That's the Van Gogh brush. They call it a size 6. I would call it a 4. But anyway, it has a beautiful tip to it, so it's perfect for doing details. I love that. Now, let me show you what I did with the eyes, because I did not fill the whole area in. Do you see there how I left a little bit of it? Because on the top of the eyes is a highlight, right? And so I just left the highlight. Now I'm going to take this little teeny brush. Did I get it wet? Yeah. And just want to bring this one out just a little bit further this way. And let's bring this one just sort of around a little bit more like that. See there? Okay. There are the eyes. And then are these dry yet? Yeah, they're pretty dry. Okay, good. So while the body is drying, I'm going to draw in some, well, for one thing, most dragonflies right up here on the tops, on the outside of the wings, they have a little brown spot, right? I'm going to show you. Do you see it right here? The little brown spot? Most of them have that. There's that right there, right there. I don't know what that's for or what it means, but they do. So I'm going to take this dark brown, which is the burnt umber, right? Just going to take a tiny bit of burnt umber on the little brush here, and I'm just going to put that in here. Just a little spot, because they all have that. They all seem to have that little spot. If anybody knows what that little spot is for, let me know in the comments. Okay. What I have to be careful of here is that I don't get my wrist in that. So I'm actually going to turn this way here so I can do it on this side and not get my hand in it, right? I do that a lot. I end up turning my artwork. Okay. There's that one. And just a tiny bit more here. I'm actually going to make it just a little bit bigger. And then over here, just pressing down just a little bit and then lifting up. There we go. So now we've got those little brown spots, because they seem to all have those little brown spots right there. All right, let's get some more Payne's gray, and we're going to draw some of the other lines on there. So I'm using that small detail brush that came in the set. It's too dry right now. Like, wait a minute. You're gonna have to just play with your watercolors to understand when is the perfect time for the paint to flow off the brush. And if you're not sure, what you need to do is keep near you a piece of scrap paper, like what I was working on here, and then you can test it and make sure that you're getting the line that you want, that is flowing off of the brush. You have enough water, but not too much water. If you have too much water, the color won't look dark enough. Okay, so you just work with that, you test it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put some of the lines in here that the edges have. So this sort of comes up like this. Don't worry if the line is broken or if it's all jagged. It's okay. It is okay. And then what? That sort of comes down like this, right? So you see what I'm putting in there? And you can look at your picture of your dragonfly, your real dragonfly, and be like, okay, where are those lines again? And just sort of riff off of that because Mother Nature's not perfect in what she does. It looks, what she does looks beautiful, but you, as the artist, don't have to do anything perfect. Let's bring this out here and another little bit there. Okay, so I've just got a little bit going on. Like I said, you can look at the dragonflies and see more what the pattern, you can get as detailed as you want. I prefer to keep it simple. Do something a little bit more simple. Okay, let's get a little more paint and then we'll do it down here. Same thing. So I'm just very lightly with the tip of the brush coming here and just sort now you could do this with a pen. If you're more comfortable using that a fine liner, use a fine liner instead of using a brush. Whatever you're more comfortable with, okay? So I'm just coming in here, adding some little breaks in there. Just like that. Sort of defining the leaves. Oh, I love the colors of the leaves, right? It's very rainbowish. Okay, let's add a little bit more here. Cool. And we'll bring it like this from the body. I'm just being very light and I'm lifting the brush sometimes because I want to have the look of, hey, it's painted. It's not an AI image and it's not an image that somebody just drew on Adobe on their computer. Nothing wrong with that. But in this case, I'm just trying to do something that looks more like a human drew it and maybe something that is doesn't look realistic. Doesn't have to be realistic, right? Okay, awesome, awesome. Now I could go back in and do all kinds of other little sections in there and all. Um, I know I really like when there's like a little shape here at the top. There's usually sort of a little, almost an eye at the end of the wings here. So I'm going to sort of draw in. And that's like I said, the beautiful thing with this brush is you can kind of do that little motion very easily with the brush. But I will come back to that later and I'll put in more details. I'm actually going to put a second coat over here on the eyes to darken them a little bit. So I'm just darkening that parts of it. There we go. All right. And now let's go to the body. The body. So I want an orange to offset or to um, vibrate next to that blue, that beautiful turquoise. So the this orange light that's in here. Wait a minute. What do they call it? Permanent red light that's in here that has the look of an orange, right? So I'm just going to pull some of that out of there. Let's put it up here in the corner, get a little bit more water. And right now I'm using the brush that came in the set because I want to have a little more control. So I'm not trying to fill the whole space. I'm just adding it a little bit at a time here. And I'm okay if it doesn't go all the way to the edge, okay? You don't have to fill the whole thing in. It's okay to leave some, like I showed before in some of my other classes, it's okay to leave some white space. That is perfectly fine. You don't have to fill everything in. But that, you know what? That took me years to learn that it's okay. You don't have to fill the whole space. It's okay to leave some of the white of the paper because it actually gives a little bit more depth to the piece when you leave some space. Now let me go ahead and I'm gonna deepen this color a little bit. So I've got the orange up here. I'm gonna put a little bit of this rose madder deep or madder deep lake here. So it's a little bit more red. It's orange, but it's a redder orange, okay? And the reason I'm doing that is I want to um, put something down the sides here, but actually I need to mute the color. And since we're working in oranges and reds, how do I mute the color? I add a little bit of, well, I can get kind of a purpley color if I add a little bit of the blue, but the opposite, because the opposite of orange is blue, right? So I'm going to get a little bit of this Prussian blue right here, just a little bit. Yes. Okay. And that just kicked it right down. It muted it just that little bit. I don't want too much. I just want a tad. So I'm going to sort of get some of it off of there so there's not too much. And then I'm just going to go along here and I'm putting the darker color in here because it gives it some dimension, right? There we go. So we've got the lighter color on top and the darker color down below. If it's too much, you just put that on there and you lift a little bit of it out, right? So I'm just going to put a little bit of that dark right here, just underneath that blue on each of those there, just to give that extra, little bit of extra dimension going on. Whew, I like him. I like him a lot. And I like that you can see some of the leaf underneath the wings here, right? Can you see that? Sort of the edge of that. And that was the idea. I'm using transparent colors. I painted the leaf green first and then used those transparent colors so you can still see a little bit of that leaf underneath there. Okay, that is the end of the painting lesson. I'm going to go back later and I'm going to add little more lines in here. I might bring in a one of these micron pens if I want more detail lines in there. But that is the basic gist of the workshop, is how to put a how to work wet in wet and how to put kind of give the impression of that transparency over top of there, and to introduce you to this beautiful book, Wild Watercolor by Karen Elaine, whom I absolutely love. We took it to the next level. And then also to introduce to you tonight the Van Gogh pocket box. That's this right here. The Van Gogh colors, the Van Gogh pocket box, and the Van Gogh paint tubes. Um, and so I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for coming along with me for this part of the show. Thanks. And I hope you enjoy trying this yourself.